The Insurance Industry Charitable Foundation worked with McKinsey to update its survey on philanthropic giving in the industry. We sat down with IICF CEO Bill Ross and the Triple I's Bob Hartwig to discuss the findings and the shifts in giving among companies in the P&C industry. Here are the highlights.
This is the second year of the study. The first study was done in 2011, and it is a philanthropic survey of the P&C industry on charitable giving. Measured in 2011, there was $500 million that was given annually by the P&C industry to charitable causes. The most recent survey, completed at the close of last year and now reported in 2015, is about $500 million, and now increasing by 15%, so another $75 million, I guess, has been added to the charitable giving efforts.
You know, I was quite impressed. The 2014 study showed a very significant increase in giving, about 15% over giving in 2011, and that's quite remarkable. And in nominal dollar terms, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars of increase at a difficult time for the economy and at a time when employment wasn't growing very quickly. So I think it's quite impressive overall, and especially when you consider not only the scale of it, but the scope of it. We're talking about an industry that employs 2.4 million people. We're talking about an industry that accounts for 2.5% of GDP. So we're a considerable force, and to the extent that when you see a 15% increase in philanthropic giving on an industry this large, that's a material difference.
I think there is always an effort on any organization to feel that they have a responsibility to be engaged in their community. I think for the P&C insurance industry, they give because they believe it's the right thing to do. They give because their employees want to see that happen as well.
You know, I think for the insurance industry, giving is an extension of what people who work in insurance companies do day in and day out. It's our business model, of course, to be the economic first responders after disasters, to help people in times of their greatest need, whether you're talking about a health insurer or whether you're talking about paying on a life insurance claim, or helping someone rebuild their home after a disaster. So it's really an extension, and it helps employees feel more engaged, however, with their communities. The ways that the industry gives should be measured far beyond just dollar terms. In every community around America, you can see the influence of insurers. And insurers are the cornerstones of many communities around this country. Again, not only do they employ hundreds of thousands of people, 2.5 million altogether, but insurers are companies that are around for the long run. They've been around decades. Some have been around a century or more. And that means they become vital parts of their communities. So you will see that these companies are revitalizing downtown areas. You'll see that they sponsor Little League teams. You'll see that their agents and their brokers around the country have their own philanthropic organizations. They give out scholarships. They sponsor internships for students who are looking to work in this business. And so while not all of these may not fit neatly within the definition of what we think about as philanthropic activity, they all involve giving back to the community in one way or another.
What we're seeing in this latest survey is there's some shifting where there was a lot of funds being given to education. There continues to be funds given to education, but it's also now moving into health and human services, again, remaining with education, but also touching, I think, on things like the community in general as well.
You know, I think that when we look at social services over the past couple of years, it's been economic difficult times in the United States. And I think that, again, education is a very important cause. It always will remain a very important cause for foundations in this industry. But I think as we came out of the Great Recession, we saw that there were many people who were in all sorts of immediate need. And there are limited dollars in the world for philanthropic causes. And I think that there's a lot of competition for philanthropic dollars out there as well. So I think in this post-recession environment, I think there was a lot of attention paid towards the immediate needs of human beings, whether it was housing, whether it was food, whether it was shelter, and these sorts of things. Now, there could be more complex factors as well. For instance, is there a perception that there's been an increase in funding for education by governments, and therefore philanthropic dollars should be used elsewhere? It's unclear. It's probably something that needs a bit more study.
Yeah, I think the idea of the IICF and completing the McKinsey survey and being able to measure the P&C giving is to be able to have some facts and figures that represent the collective and united industry as compared to, we know the figures at the individual company level, but it was very hard to answer the question, what does truly the P&C segment actually give? And today we can say $500 million is given out, more than $500 million, And frankly, there's another $500 million that McKinsey discovered that was given out through partnership relationships. So today we can answer that over $1 billion is given out annually by the P&C industry.
If you'd like to know more about charitable giving in the insurance industry, visit the IICF website.